Welcome to the Sessions with Sessions podcast. I'm your host, John, and we're a group of riders from up in Sudbury, Ontario. Talk about riding, talk about fat biking last week, back into the winter sports, and talk about other good stuff up here, and I guess how we do it our way. So today, back with the B team.
The solid C team, not even the B team. The B team was busy.
We passed.
So we brought the beautiful John Bernetti back.
What's going on, guys? It's been a while.
And the amazing Mike Loken.
Thank you very much.
And today, guys, is episode number 31. I feel like we're finally getting these big numbers. It's kind of cool, honestly. YouTube still won't recognize us, but we're getting there, guys. We're getting there.
One podcast at a time.
One
bit by
excellent
bit.
performance at a time, and eventually the right people will see the right things.
We'll keep jamming it down YouTube still.
Whether they want it or not, this content is going to pop off.
This is where the good stuff is. But either way, guys, we're kind of taking a break from our regular broadcasting, and instead of talking about bikes like we usually do, we're actually going to talk about cross-country skis. Which is pretty cool. I mean, it's something that, here, especially in Northern Ontario, especially in Sudbury, we're incredibly fortunate to have, and I think we're going to hit on it more. We're going to do at least 2 of these back-to-back, talking about skis. Today we're going to kind of cover the basics, but to kind of frame this scenario, up in Sudbury here, we have about 7 different trail networks. We have a lot of places you can go skiing. We have more places you can go cross-country skiing than we can go organized mountain biking, then we can go downhill skiing.
It's phenomenal. Like, I grew up in Ottawa, which is a noted cross-country ski area on its own, and I never skied. Come up here, and it's the first winter sport that I truly fell in love with and got outside with. And you got Walden and Capriol and Laurentian, and
it's ridiculous.
The
freaking golf courses just put freaking tracks on the. So there's a lot of places to go. It's an amazing family sport. It's also a good cross training sport. So if someone doesn't have a fat bike, maybe you couldn't get one this year, or you're not into training on the trainer inside, it's a good way to get out there, get your legs moving, get your body moving, and get a good workout in the off season.
It is totally. Many World Tour cyclists actually cross-country ski in the winter for that core muscle building and that cardio training for cross-training. Yeah. Fabian Cancellara was a huge fan of it, and one of the world's best cyclists at the time.
Yeah, it's we're going to dive into that a little more, but today is more for just kind of highlighting the different disciplines and the equipment you need. Bernetti, what do you know exactly about cross-country skiing?
Well, I could not be any further off the other end of the spectrum than Logan. I have cross-country skied a handful of times in my life. Mostly, a little bit in Thunder Bay, where I grew up. Did a little bit of it when I was a little kid. We used to do it as an elective in public school. Because Big Thunder, because
it was the bird class.
That was the tough class at Thunder Bay.
Yeah, exactly. So I did a little bit of it as a kid. I couldn't tell you, it was put this equipment on and go down there. Yeah. So that was my extent of my training on it. But I've had a pair since I lived in Sudbury. I really couldn't tell you the brand or anything about them. I legit don't know anything. I just get on the ones that I own and go across the lake.
Perfect. So we brought Bernetti on here today specifically
to make fun of him.
Yes, so we're going to tear into him for about 45 minutes here.
Just let me have it.
So the goal today, guys, is we're approaching this. We've got a lot of people that in town, maybe they're thinking about getting into cross-country skiing. Maybe it's their first time. They just kind of want to test the waters, or maybe they want to get into their second set and they don't quite know the differences. So Bernetti's here kind of as a control. He's here to ask the questions that you might have as a first-time skier. We do find oftentimes that even throughout this podcast, we can skim through stuff as we're kind of moving quick. So he's here to keep us nice and slow.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call, and I think that I'm a good candidate for this because, again, I just got through camp last year, kind of just reinvigorated cross-country skiing, kind of dusted them off after, I don't know, they sat in the rafters for a number of years. And now that I've gotten back, kind of wanted to get back into it, it's actually really good timing just to get an idea, because now that I've had a chance to kind of do it a little bit, there is things that I want to know more about, because I don't think I have the right skis for what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I probably have a very atypical expectation of what I want to do on cross-country skis, so I think it might be kind of cool for you guys to give me an idea of what might be something to check out.
Kind of walk you through it all.
Yeah.
And the one thing I really do want to emphasize, like you mentioned already, John, it's an amazing family sport. You know, I got 2 young boys. We've had them in lessons since they were 3 or 4 years old. That's a great thing in Sudbury and in many other communities is these, jackrabbits and bunny rabbits, it's usually called. Fantastic to get the kids out. They get such a great workout. They learn how to ski properly. I think my oldest skis better than I do at this point, like hands down. But it's wonderful. It's a great family sport. So anybody who's listening that wants to get into it, find something that the family can do together, that's an amazing family activity. It truly, truly is.
Can I just ask one quick question? Do you have the longest cross-country skis in the world?
I have the longest ones that are basically made. Yeah.
Still not long enough.
Not long enough.
They are not long enough by the traditional measure. I ride 204 centimeters in a classic
That's
ski.
not long enough.
And it is not long enough.
Wow.
No.
Okay, so we're going to dive right into it here, guys. Usually we have some questions, stuff like that. We're not going to go through questions today because we do have a lot to cover. So we're going to skim right through that and kind of see how far we get here. So for starters, I guess the best place to start, the quick and easy, we're going to start with the skis. Now, when you walk into a store, you walk into a place and you're looking for a set of skis, the first question you're going to get asked is classic or skate?
Classic or skate.
So we're not going to talk about skate yet. First, we're going to talk about classic skiing. When we're talking about classic skiing, Logan, you've been out classic skiing. What do the trails look like when you're classic skiing?
The classic trails are the ones that are 2 grooves in the snow. You're following train tracks in the
It's
snow.
like being on a go-kart track, right? Like on a roller coaster.
And it's what, when I was growing up as a kid and you'd watch the Olympics and you'd see the Norwegians and the Finns out doing the skiing. That's the image that I remember. People with that very long motion, almost looks like you're running or kicking a ball and gliding and into tracks in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. The thing you need with a classic ski is a way in which to get grip on the snow. So if you can imagine, the skier is going to slide forward with one foot, weight the foot, get grip, slide forward with the other foot, weight the foot, get grip. And they're going to slide forward and back in a motion, and with having some kind of grip underneath that ski, that's going to allow that skier to propel themselves forward. Now, we're going to grab, we're going to grab the wax ski first.
Sure.
So
Live podcasting.
The most traditional way, if you're on YouTube, you can see this. This is just basically a bear ski. It has a very similar kind of construction and shape as you might see on the downhill ski or any of that kind of stuff. It's just a base on the bottom. Base is super fast. What they would do is they would take the grip wax.
Yeah, so just like John's saying, you want to have 2 parts of the ski, one part that grips and one part that slides.
Exactly.
So when you have a ski that has no built-in gripping part, you have to make that yourself. So that's what grip wax is. It's that making that grip for you.
It's kind of like a sticky, it's almost like a glue stick, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to chalk this guy on underneath the foot, and then you're going to hit it with a cork and heat it up, and it's going to create a sticky area underneath the ski. That sticky area is what's going to allow it to stick
I
to
could
the
see
snow.
John, he's like, what does hit it with a cork mean?
Yeah, that's why I was like, is that like a term or is that like an actual
no, it's
thing?
an actual thing.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna
we've
reach it.
got a
Okay.
cork here.
So I have for the people on YouTube, I have a cork block, and it is literally exactly what it sounds like. It is a block of cork. The reason that they use cork is a nice semi-porous material. It's there's lots of fancy terms for it, vasoelastic material, and it creates a lot of friction, creates a lot of heat when you rub it on something. That's all
just
it
heats
does.
it up.
Lots of heat.
Helps it melt into the base and helps it stay on for a longer term. We're not going to focus too much, if I'm being honest with you, on a waxable.
That's okay. I don't want those ones. So
Yeah, you don't want these
Move
ones.
those along.
No one wants these
But
ones.
can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
Why would somebody
Okay,
want
so
that?
this
Racers.
is really where it gets a little spicier. So, if you have a good wax tech, and I mean a good wax tech, they can adjust these skis to the conditions outside better than you can get with a ski that is what we call waxless.
Okay.
So
Okay, so there is like
waxing
a-
ski. So
yeah.
this wax here, for example, is very sticky. It's a red wax. I have another wax over there that's a green wax. It's
Okay.
less sticky.
Okay.
Now, a Vaudi wax may work better in some conditions, whereas a Swix wax may work in other conditions.
Like with dryness?
With the dryness and the exactly
Temperature.
with how much
Gotcha.
this,
Yeah,
this
okay.
temperature,
So-
but it's also how much
Yeah.
how the snow is. If it's
Like
fresh
humidity-
snow,
yeah,
old
yeah,
snow,
yeah.
how much there's like these
no doubt.
wax techs are mad scientists. I've seen guys pour whiskey on skis to try to get some kind of stuff going on in the ski. I've seen
Yeah,
all like
like
it's so when you're at a high level of racing,
Yeah.
you will always be, generally speaking, in a waxable ski. It is also the first kind of ski. If you think back to when they were first doing, when cross-country skis first came out, it was those tar, right? It's pine tar at the bottom of them. And that's how you got your grip. After that, most people, when they come in, when they think cross-country skis, they're thinking waxless. So we're going to grab that good old-fashioned fish.
The fish scale. So just
This is the ski that I have.
so going for like the wax again, like you go out to Walden on a Saturday or Sunday, they have the wax shack at Walden, and in non-COVID times you go in there and you see the ski team doing their skis, and somebody's out like literally like making snowballs, taking the temperature outside, trying to figure out like, okay, is the snow compacting? Is it not compacting? It's called the dark art of waxing. Like you can. Guys show up with a waxing kit. They'll have 15 kinds of wax or 20 kinds of wax, and they're choosing based on the conditions.
And
but
some wax is like it's like $100 a freaking wax. It's like.
But you think about when we go out, like when you go out on a fat bike, what's your pressure? Oh, you're going to go like a 5.5 or a 4.5 psi. It's the same discussion, just in a different genre.
Well,
right?
because we're all looking for traction on different snow. Right at the end of the day,
but
like
it's the big thing with these guys is you've got two surfaces that are going back and forth over, let's say, 20 kilometers, and that ski is going to put all their effort in. And that is their, like, it's not like we're talking about gearing options here. We're not talking about waxing chains. We're not talking about, like, this is it. This is the whole thing. So oftentimes when we're talking about wax, a lot of the wax techs in town, they have a fleet. They have a control fleet. So they'll have like 4 or 5, sometimes even more sets of skis that they're out there. So if the racers are going out at, let's say they're starting the race at 8:39, the racers are out. So the coaches are out at like 6, and
doing
they're starting
a test run.
to test. So they start testing the different skis with the different waxes to see which wax is going to perform best for those conditions.
Wow.
And all the different teams are out there with their coaches and with their wax techs trying to figure out the secret combination that day.
And for the 1% of users, that's fantastic, right? Like one of my friends, their son Kai, he's on the Walden ski team. He's on the Llewellyn ski team. That's his level of involvement in this. For 99% of us,
you don't need it.
That is not something you
much
want
work,
to be
man.
doing every Saturday.
How long does it how much time are you spending on this? I mean, you.
Obviously, you can spend more or less, but like your average skier, like your average Joe, this the purist that wants to have these skis. It's probably spending like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just getting his skis kind of good to go. He already has some kind of wax on his ski. He's just kind of layering up for the day. Maybe it's a 15-minute thing before he goes out. If you're doing like you can iron on layers, and there's levels to this stuff. But for your average guy, a couple minutes before he goes out, the problem is if you don't get your wax right, it's not good. Number one, or if you sometimes you just want to have your skis in your car and go out skiing when you can. You're not going to bring a whole wax box with you. You're not going to bring so there's some problems.
Okay, so I'm out on that one. Let's move on to this one.
And to be completely honest, I'm out on it too, right? I got 2 young guys that are trying to get ready to ski with the family, and my wife's trying to get her skis on and everything. I can't be faffing around with wax.
No,
I don't have time for that.
I'm not even in this, and I'm the shop guy. Like, if I'm being honest, coaches aren't even this. Coaches don't really. We don't see as many coaches on waxable skis anymore. They wax all the kids' skis. They don't want to wax their own.
Gotcha.
So we're going to get to that option in a second. So this guy here is what they call fish scale. It's what most people come in and they say waxless. So now the first thing I want to say here, right off the hop, is just because it's waxless doesn't mean it doesn't need wax.
It's a bad term. Waxless doesn't need no wax.
Okay. I 100% would have assumed that I would never wax my skis ever in my life.
Yeah. So, okay, we're going to get to it.
Okay.
This ski has what we could describe, if you're on YouTube, you still can't see this because it's white on white, but it looks like a bunch of fish scales underneath the bottom of the ski. Right underneath where the binding is, because that's where you're going to put your weight down. That's where you would wax your ski. And then the tip and tail, it's just nice and smooth. Now, where you would normally put your grip wax, there's these fish scale things that you can imagine would slide one way and grip the other. Just kind of like if you were to run your hand down a fish one way and then try to ride your hand down a fish.
It's a unidirectional
Or
pattern.
your grandparents' coach in the 1980s.
Yes, the velvet velour couch, 100%.
That's it.
100%.
That's basically what we're going to get more. We're going to use that example in a second again. So, but on the tip and tail, you have a regular base. Now, the thing I want you with the normal like a waxable set of skis, on the tip and the tail, you still have to wax them. You have to put a glide
You need a
wax
glide
on.
wax on there.
So a glide
Yeah.
wax is the same kind of stuff. If you're familiar with downhill skiing, it's the stuff you got to use on downhill skis. So that's the stuff that lets you slide fast. The grip wax is important for gripping on a waxable ski.
Yeah.
On this, you don't need grip wax because you have this pattern on the base. However, you still, I always tell people, when the ski starts to fade, you can visibly see it and it looks dry. So if it's a black base,
Oh
you'll
yeah, that's
see it.
I know
It's
exactly
got that
what you're talking about.
scratched plastic
Yeah,
look. It doesn't have that
It
pristine
may,
black look.
may or may not be the front ski of a GT snow racer at that point.
Exactly.
That is the look. And there again, you can get into different levels of glide wax, right? You can get into the serious ones. I have a couple of different kinds of glide wax for different temperatures.
Yeah.
Or because you're a guy like me that has young kids that are running out on the trail, and you can get ones that are essentially quick waxes, right? Like they go on real quick, they dry real quick. You rub them down a couple of times with a cork block, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
the good ones,
okay.
you want to use an iron. I always tell people, if you're skiing once a week, then like once a season, just bring your skis into a shop.
That's all I wanted
Get
to
them
know.
to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Right? Just bring it into the shop. It's $20. We'll wax your
No-brainer.
skis. Like it's you're in and out. If you're skiing like 3-4 times a week, okay, maybe it's time that you invest in an iron and stuff and wax your skis once every 2 weeks, and you'll see more performance.
Sure. Yeah, so it depends what you're after.
Yeah, but this skier, generally speaking, is not looking for that performance.
No.
This skier is looking for, this is the, put them in a shed, take them out once in a blue moon.
Dust them off once the season.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be cute.
Exactly. So the fish scale pattern definitely will, I would say it's more entry level focused, because the
Yeah,
fish
absolutely it
scale
is.
itself is very long. So you can
Yeah.
see the wax pocket on the ski, or wax pocket as
It's
called,
about
grip zone on the ski.
It's more than a third of the ski length.
Exactly.
So
Because
yeah.
it's so long,
Yeah.
you're going to get a lot of grip.
Yeah.
The disadvantage is that you're going to be dragging these fish scales on the ground
Sure.
quite a bit.
yeah,
So
your
it
glide is affected.
Yeah, you can hear it when a fish scale skier is going down to it. It's like because your fish scales are just dragging against the
And there's a
snow.
couple of different patterns. Like fish scales seem to be the predominant one now. There's a mine have herringbone pattern,
Yeah.
so it literally looks like a herringbone pattern on a fabric.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea, just a little bit different execution. And some brands, the grip portion will be slightly smaller to get a little bit better glide. But it's exactly right. It's aimed towards a skier who's looking for a convenient ski that performs well, because a lot of these skis perform really quite well, and they're lots of fun to be on.
Is there any racers that would use a waxless ski?
Yes, not
Yes.
not specifically this. Not a fish scale ski.
And now, is there different? And you said different brands will sell a different patch.
Yeah.
Is that impacted also on the size of the person? Like what a like?
So different
I
ski.
don't
We're going to
know.
talk about
We're
ski
gonna get to
sizes
that.
after,
Okay.
but ski size is a
Okay.
whole different conversation.
That is a very different discussion.
So
for sure.
okay, so we're gonna move on from fish scales here, and we're gonna grab our last on here, which is, and if anyone's watching this that at least has heard a little bit, or their friends ski,
This is your
what everyone's
grandmother's
talking
couch now. This is
Okay.
your grandmother's
This
couch.
is what
Okay.
everybody's been talking about. This is a skin ski.
Okay.
Now,
Ooh,
a skin
it does-
ski,
it
if you're
feels
on
fast.
audio,
Yeah.
basically what this is they call it unidirectional fibers. And it is literally your grandma's
Grandma's
couch.
couch. I
Grandma's
totally,
couch.
I totally jumped the gun.
You did.
I totally. That is 100%.
You're having a moment. You're having a moment here.
For sure.
Thinking back to grandma's
Yeah.
house.
Oh yeah. And just like you put your head on the pillow, and it was like cold, super rough.
So the basically the long and short of it with this one, guys, is just better. It is.
It is.
It better as far as performance goes.
Oh.
A first time skier may find that they might not be able to get as much grip with this because it's a smaller zone.
They're a little bit finicky. They are not as for like the application I always think of is with my boys. They're not as robust as a fish scale ski. Like that ski, you can run over gravel and be fine.
yeah,
This one, because it's a fabric, a little bit more care and attention is
see,
needed.
I would have even gone there.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So you got like,
And they
You're not
do wear
walking
out over
across the
time
parking
too.
lot.
Like
Yeah.
we're talking about 1,000 K. They do wear out,
Okay.
which is a lot, but depends on how often you're skiing. If you're skiing a lot, you'd expect to change them. They're about $40 to change.
Well, if you're buying these, you're not going to be the guy who's just storing them in the shed.
No, that's the idea
not,
with the fish.
Right?
That's the
You know what I
idea with
mean?
the
Like
skins.
this is you actually want to use these things a
Yes,
little bit.
that's the
Yeah.
idea with the skins.
Yeah.
It is you get a significantly better glide.
Okay.
With the skin ski,
do, yeah.
and you also get a significantly better grip if you know how to
Okay.
use them. Right? If you know how to put the weight in the right spot, your grip here is much better than it is with a fish scale.
Gotcha.
It's a Velcro like grip, right?
Yeah.
You're using little fibers to grip into the snow instead
Sure.
of kind of a smooth
Sure.
plastic that's got
And
cuts in it.
Can I just ask, what do you have to shift in your grip? Like, is it you're more up on your toe? Like you're shifting
Yeah,
your
you just
weight?
gotta, you just got
gotta
like a
shift your
good
weight?
skier. A good skier knows how to flex that ski properly to flatten it out to get the grip where it
Okay.
needs to be. Whereas a first-time skier, what you maybe call a shuffle skier, where they're going out and they're just kind of shuffling their legs back and forth a little more, and not doing a full glide and not putting their weight down on that ski.
Yeah.
If they're shuffling along, they need that wax zone to be, or the grip zone, sorry, to be longer, so that they get a little extra grip where they need it. Especially think like going up a hill. If you're not gliding up the hill and putting your weight where you need it, you kind of want that wax pocket to be a little longer to get grip.
So like I try not to, one of the great things about skiing is it's a very accessible sport. You go out on the ski trails, you see people of a lot of different age groups and ability levels out there. And some people, shuffle skiing is what they're physically able to do, and cross-country skiing is a great sport for them. And they're having fun with it. The ideal motion is a kicking and gliding motion where you're shifting your weight instead of... People get out and they're like, oh, cross-country skiing's like walking. Not really. It's not really a walking motion. It's a kick and glide motion in classic.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you guys to talk about all that stuff on the trails, but the thing I'm actually a little bit more interested in is hearing about
Lake skiing.
Going on lakes.
Okay, we're getting there. That's next.
Yeah, so that's what, and that's what I mean.
Calm down,
That's
Mr.
why I said-
Bernetti.
No, that's what
Calm
I said.
down.
I don't want to know about it now, but that's why I want you guys to know.
That's actually where we're going next.
Yeah, the skin ski. Just one more thing about it. This came onto the market what five-ish years ago.
Yeah,
give or take?
it's kind of gotten settled. I'd say the last two. The last 5 was a little dicey 5, but yeah.
This was a technology in the 70s that came out, but they couldn't make the skin patches work well enough and last long enough. And this is a technology that's come back out now that the fabrics have caught up to the idea.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
and they are really fantastic for... Like, if I was going to get another set of skis today, I would get a set of skin skis.
Absolutely. This is what I own. This is what a lot of coaches are on now, because this is it's a performance. You can buy this. You can buy a skin ski in all levels. So you can buy the Axiom World Cup Rossi ski in a skin. And that's a good ski for a coach or maybe an ex-racer or maybe even a racer on the right day that just wants a training ski.
A 40-something-year-old dad who thinks he's really fast and cool.
Masters category, man. Masters category, right?
Like I don't buy an entry-level mountain bike.
Right? But it's a performance, and like you can go out and do your loppets and crush with it without having to worry about your wax. And but you can also buy price point ones. What you can't do is you can't buy a fish scale performance ski.
No,
so that's where this has been a total
ski.
game changer that way, because it is. And don't get me wrong, there's gonna be some purists out there that are gonna hate me about this because they think that waxing is the only way. And don't get me wrong, waxing is, if you do wax right, it will always be better. However, this has kind of opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people that may have been not there before.
Sure.
And just from a construction level, like something to note about classic skis is if you come in and you're looking at skis and you're trying to pick something off the shelf and you're wondering what the hell it is, classic skis are going to be a little bit more narrow. Because your motion is only front and back. You're not doing side-to-side motion on the ski. So there doesn't need to be a lot of beef on the side of the ski. So they tend to be narrow, thin.
Hold on. I'm gonna derail you there because I'm gonna throw a curveball on you when we start talking about the next ski.
Yes.
The easiest way I'm gonna tell you is on the tip, because it's curved and not flat.
Curved.
But
Curved tip.
this is where I want to kind of chat about the split in classic skis. So now, classic skis, everyone always thinks it's just skating classic. There's a third category, and it is a waxable or waxless, like a ski that needs some kind of grip under the bottom. It's called touring skis. Now, a touring
This is the
sound of
man.
touring.
I'm a
Touring
touring
skis
kind of man.
are your maybe your first time skier, second time skier. They're that skier that might need a little more confidence on the first time going out, or maybe they're on the lakes. A touring ski, if Mr. Bernetti, can you grab me that blue ski right there?
This?
Yes, the one beside it, the one that's open. Yeah. So this ski here in my hands is the Rossi Evo ski. So an average ski is about 45, maybe 48 millimeters wide at the widest. This is 60 millimeters wide. So it is a little bit wider. Because it's a little bit wider, you're going to get a little more stability. If you're going to go off track, the tracks are usually about 70 mils wide. So this gets you a lot of room in the track. You're still able to ski the tracks just fine. Tracks meaning like at this local ski club. Now, if you were going to go off trail though, if you were going to go through the golf courses, this would give you an extra bit of traction through the golf courses, an extra little bit of float through the golf courses even. Last thing for this guy, I mean, there's a couple things, but one of the biggest I want to hit on is this also got side cut. Okay. So side cut means it's narrower in the middle than it is in the tip and the tail. Kind of like a downhill ski where it's parabolic. It's not drastic, but if you can think about, so this is even for those skiers who want to go out and maybe they're they're going down a hill where there's no tracks on the
No tracks
on
and
the
no
downhill,
grooming, yeah.
and they're not quite as confident on that descent. This gives them a little bit of ability to kind of steer the ski around the corners, as opposed to sidestepping the ski around the corners if they're not quite as comfortable.
That's where I fall apart. Man.
Yeah, 'cause, like,
it's
a
the
full-
downhill on a corner. Even if there is a groove, I'm like, it's not like wearing hockey skates. That's the
No.
problem.
Yeah, because a
Exactly.
full classic ski, you don't have that cut on the side. Like it's
Straight.
essentially a straight side.
Okay. So this is
your ability to
100%.
the ability to
100%.
corner is very different.
And you can get this kind of ski in the same kind of abilities. You can't get this in a World Cup, but like you can get a touring ski in different widths. You can get a backcountry ski as well, which the whole other ball game is super wide, big ski with metal edges. But a touring ski is going to be you're slightly more comfortable, slightly, honestly, oftentimes shorter per size as well, which I'll get more into in a second. But it's a more manageable ski for those skiers who just want to go out, just want to have fun, go out with the kids, that style of ski. We're going to talk about the boots a lot later, but I would say a touring ski favors that skier that wants to just go out for fun as to go out to shave time off the clock.
Yeah, it's a very attractive market for the ski. It's a
that's why
great product.
And if I want to go across a lake,
That's what you want, man.
especially like underneath how it's not
Yeah.
flat. Like a
It's
lot of
not
times
groomed.
It's not groomed, and a lot of times it's like ice chunky,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's not. So it's got and again, so is that going to have the same amount of flex as a normal cross country, like a normal
Flex and stuff we're going to talk about in a minute
Okay,
when we talk
okay.
about weight.
Okay, perfect.
So that's pretty well. That's the quick and easy with touring, but there is even within touring some subsections. And then if you were to go wider, so the ski we just had there was a 60. You can go from there's a 45, a 55, a 65, all that kind of stuff. There's even these big old guys. So I have a set of these myself. This is where we start getting into the backcountry category. So now we're going to talk about this really quick and easy. We're not going to say much, but it usually has a Positrack base, which is like that fish scales. This guy has a full metal edge, and it's significantly wider.
Full metal jacket.
That
Full
is a
metal
that is a
jacket.
very wide ski.
So
it looks
they
downhill
they do
ski-ish.
make a
Yeah.
backcountry, a BC65, which will fit in the track. I don't recommend it if you're ever going to go on the track, because if you go on the track, you will find the metal edges weigh down a lot, and it makes a big difference. A BC100 will not fit in the track. This ski is your purely lake adventuring, going through the backcountry kind of ski.
Sweet.
You would pair this with a boot that oftentimes the backcountry boots have a really big pin on the front, and they're really big and robust, and they're warm, and they're for
they're
that
heavy.
that backcountry skier. That's this skier. I have a set of these myself, honestly. We use them from time to time. It's one of those you really got to be the person that has the time to go into the backcountry and do some exploring.
Okay, so this is like the equivalent of a fat bike, where you don't just own a fat bike. You don't just own these skis. These are
Unless-
like would you like
This
would you
isn't your
unless
only
you're
set of
like,
skis.
like this
Yeah.
is like another like you get these after for
Yeah.
like specific purpose.
Unless
this is not
unless
a
you're that
solo.
kind of person, like there's if you get that kind of person who's that outdoor enthusiast that just wants to go and spend time in the woods and that kind of stuff, like this might be the ski for them. If you're not the kind of person that's going to go to a club, then okay, maybe you definitely get a lot more float. But there's a lot more to be said for even a touring ski. So something that you can use the ability of a club if you need to.
Sure.
So that's kind of the quick and easy. As far as skis, Bernetti, like, do you think that's to cover enough for you? Kind of understand there's touring skis,
Honestly,
classic
yeah.
skis.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get it. Like you gave me one of each and a quick once over. I think that anybody that's watching this kind of knows what stream they want to go into, and now they're going to have more
Yeah.
specific questions for you, but you can't cover all that in a podcast,
Well, no,
right?
we'll
this
get
is
there.
like
That's why it's gonna be a
You know what I
series.
mean? Like
We're gonna have a couple. So again, guys, skate. We're getting to it. We're getting to it. This podcast, just keep holding on. Yeah, we're gonna talk quick about boots. So boots, especially with classic specifically, a classic boot. Logan's got one there too.
Yeah, classic
I got
boot,
this,
relatively lightweight, some insulation, not a huge amount of support laterally or anything because you don't need it. You're not making lateral motions. It's front and back, relatively stiff sole, not anything crazy.
the big thing is you've got a hinge through it. So when you're classic skiing, if you're on YouTube, you can see this, but you're flexing the toe of your boot down and you're lifting your heel while the toe's connected. Now you need to have what they would call a hinge through the middle part of the boot to make that action happen.
makes sense.
A high-end classic boot will have a carbon cuff, will have some carbon torsional
Torsion,
stiffness,
yeah, makes sense.
but it still has that hinge through the middle, and the hinge on a high-end boot will be very soft and easy to move because it won't give you as much resistance to make it so that you can flex that boot nice and you can throw it behind you to kind of make yourself move.
That actually
No.
makes so much sense that they make it like put the carbon in the sole and like
Yeah.
a higher end. That's a
Right.
That's great.
You'll also notice a classic boot on the higher end side. You'll have a big gaiter over top. You have laces, your quick lace through the inside. But otherwise, it's a very simple kind of boot, I guess I would say.
John,
It
what's,
is- it
what's
is
this
a
strap?
relatively
What's this
simple
strap
boot.
for?
So some boots like this is a spine boot. So this is a brand we just picked up. Super cool little small brand. These guys have a little heel adjustment cuff. So if as you tighten this over the heel, it's like on your Achilles. If anyone that's listening, it snugs down and just kind of gives you some attention on the heel. Alpina does do the similar thing on some of their higher end boots.
Okay.
You'll notice when you get to the top end of any boot, you start getting into some kind of differences and funny
Sure.
stuff.
One of the
everybody's
things I
got a
really
favorite.
like about classic skiing, though, and I'm in this camp, like this Alpina boot that I have here, this is not an expensive boot.
Yeah.
My wife and my oldest son use this exact model of boot. You can get on a set of classic skis with boots, with
Yeah.
poles, $300-400 for the whole package, and you have a ski set that is going to be very enjoyable to get out on the
It'll
trails.
literally
in.
last forever too.
It will, and it will last forever. I think I'm on year 8 or 9 with my set. It still runs
How old are your
great.
skis, Bernardi?
2007.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's been a couple of that.
No, dude,
But it's
they're like pristine.
I
For
just
all
brushed
the wrong
dust
reasons.
off them
For
last
all
week.
the wrong reasons.
But it's a great sport for that reason, right? You don't like a lot of the sports that we talk about on this podcast. There's a real gap in performance versus the price you spend on equipment.
Yeah.
And in something like classic cross country skiing, you can spend a very reasonable amount of money and have a hell of a lot of fun for
Yeah.
that money.
So to point at your boot again here. So this again, we're going back to the touring versus classic conversation. Now these lines do get mixed quite a bit, but just to make it easy on everybody, this boot here is what we would call a touring boot. Now a touring boot, oftentimes the difference is
Okay.
higher cuff.
Yeah.
A touring boot will definitely look towards having more ankle support.
Okay.
Maybe that skier is they don't have that maybe that perfect technique, so that boot's going to come up higher on the
Feel that
cuff. Yep, the boot's going to come up higher on the cuff. Oftentimes have like an extra set of hooks high up in the boot so that you can cinch that heel down and give you that extra bit of support. The boot will oftentimes have a deeper tread pattern if you are going to be walking off the boot. It'll also have it'll be significantly warmer. So with the cross country, with any kind of classic boot, even in the classic category as opposed to the touring category, the more you spend, the lighter the boot, the more carbon. The lighter the boot, the more carbon, the less warm.
The last one.
So we're up here in Northern Ontario. I do sell quite a few Axiom boots and Axiom World Cup boots from Rossi, which is their high-end stuff. But I do sell a lot of the boot from them called the X8, which is a lower. It's still a performance boot, still a classic boot, still a race boot, but it prioritizes warmth.
I ski on a lower end Rossignol boot, and mine is a nice, cozy, warm boot. I've never had to worry about my feet getting cold. In
That's
the winter,
exactly it.
and it's wonderful.
That's what I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rossignol
you
boots.
just something warm, something comfortable, something easy to ski.
That's the one thing you could remember about your skis so
yeah.
far.
That's the one.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because I tried to use them as fat biking boots because I didn't know what else to do with them.
Oh, yeah.
It did not go well.
It did not work.
They did not clip in
There
the
was
same
not
way.
a lot of not
Oh,
a lot
no.
of grip.
No,
to say
not
the
a lot of
least.
Yeah,
grip.
yeah.
There's
You
not
wouldn't get a
there,
lot of
like-
grip with that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a stiff sole. It wouldn't be that good boot at all.
Well, they look so good though.
They do
They
look
have like
good.
a little zipper on the outside.
Oh,
of
they
them.
would have
look-
looked slick.
Yeah.
They would look
They would have
slick.
looked slick.
You'd
yeah.
look really fast.
So the thing about a touring boot, though, this guy here, you will notice it is pretty soft. So if you are looking for that performance, maybe you want more of a classic boot.
Comfort
but-
boot, not performance boot, for
Exactly,
sure.
but it is important to remember that sometimes less is more. Just because you bought yourself a super fancy set of skis because you want to go fast doesn't mean necessarily you want to spend a ton on your boots, because sometimes a cheaper boot will be a lot warmer and a lot more comfortable. It's about finding one that fits your foot the best.
And what about when you get into the wider skis, even like this 100?
So
what
when
kind
you're
of boots would
when
you
you're on a
want for that?
backcountry boot,
Yeah.
a backcountry ski, if you can see this on YouTube, so there's a pin here. The pin is significantly bigger and thicker. Now you can you can, because that ski is flat. There's no track or anything on it.
Right.
You can screw any binding you want to it. And if you screw a regular binding into it, you can use a regular boot. However, you can screw a backcountry boot onto it.
Okay.
And a backcountry boot, the interface on the binding will be significantly wider, which will
Okay.
allow you to have a lot more control over that ski, and it'll be a lot burlier
Nice.
if you're hitting trees and stuff.
Yeah.
But it'll also drag if you do bring it on the track. Now that ski you couldn't take on the track anyways, but if you
Yeah.
were to mount a backcountry boot on a
Okay.
regular ski, it would drag everywhere.
Can I ask then? So I would think that the advantages to that would be that it's easier to get on in deeper snow because it's like a big meteor thing that's kind of smashing
I wouldn't
into it.
necessarily say easier to get on. I would say it's just more resilient if
It's
you
going to
smash
take more
into stuff.
abuse.
Yeah,
if
'cause,
you
like,
smash
that's
that
the thing,
pin
right?
into
It's,
stuff, and
like,
like
if you're stepping into a whole bunch of deep fresh
Yeah.
powder and your skis kind of buried a little bit, and like it's kind
it's
of you're
stepping into your skis is tricky regardless, honestly. But the bigger pin, the oversized, like the Magnum they call it, the pin is like it's just a beefier piece of metal,
Sure.
so that it's going to be a little more resilient. They also when you go into backcountry, but again, anything that, especially sports stuff, it is sport focused. So depending on what you're looking to do with it, a backcountry boot will start to follow that kind of avenue. It'll have a higher cuff again for because that skier definitely needs that ankle support because they
Yeah.
might actually be downhill with it a little bit.
Yeah.
So they need a little bit of ankle support there. They'll have a significantly warmer boot. They will always have an overgator. So the boot that I've got in front of me here doesn't have an overgator.
Okay, this
So
is an overgator, right?
That's an
Correct.
overgator. So a
That's
zipper
the
over
zipper
top.
on the front. That second layer of fabric with the zipper.
yeah.
It just that second layer of fabric will not only provide a significant amount of warmth and wind block,
Sure.
but it'll also actually change the fit of the boot and kind of stretches the boot around your foot to give you a nicer, clean fit on the boot. Whereas just a regular lace-up boot, it is a lot cheaper. So
Yeah.
you'll see the same thing with the backcountry boots. Oftentimes they'll have that zip-up gator, and sometimes
this
that
a
gator will
backcountry
go
boot?
even higher.
No, that is not.
That's a skate boot.
Okay.
We're getting there.
It looks cool though.
It looks super cool.
It does, yes. It's got the carbon fiber
Looks
in.
badass.
Yeah,
As a
Like
cyclist,
that
you're
thing
just
looks.
That's
I'm
the-
like,
that's the
damn.
cool
what is
one.
that?
you're
That's
you're
the cool one.
attracted to carbon fiber as a cyclist. Naturally, just
Yeah.
attracted to
It
carbon
looks
fiber.
so awesome. Looks like it's like a Lamborghini. Of
I can
ski
see the
boots.
weave.
Damn.
So
That's
I
a
guess,
good segue. Let's
Yeah.
jump into skates then.
Well, hold on. Last thing I want to talk about is poles.
Oh, poles, yes.
Can I
Yeah,
see that
ask.
there isn't any loops for actual gators.
That's
Like,
because
is that-
these aren't backcountry boots.
Because
Oh,
something
but a
like that,
backcountry
you
boot would.
something
Okay.
like
And a
that, you are
backcountry
supposed to be
boot,
on a groomed trail.
Yeah, you're
so
on groomed trail
trail, you
streets.
do
Yeah,
not
yeah.
have gators.
Stupid question. Stupid question.
Yeah, Jesus, Bernetti.
-1.
Yeah. So a classic pole. So I guess we should. So classic and touring, again, they always get grouped together because they are kind of in a similar category. However, poles, generally speaking, you've got aluminum poles and you've got carbon poles. The higher end the pole, the more carbon in the pole. This will be a common theme even when we talk about skate poles. The higher end the carbon in the pole, the stiffer the pole. So
Okay.
you can put more pressure down on it without it flexing.
Okay.
And also the lighter the pole. So, and when I say amount of carbon, because it's carbon and fiberglass. So it's like it can be a 60% carbon or an 80% carbon or 100% carbon or 20% carbon,
Okay.
or it can just be an aluminum pole.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, with classic skiing, with touring, I guess the best way to start with, a tourer, someone that was just going to go out, just going to go once in a while, you just want an aluminum pole. The nice thing about aluminum pole is if it bends, you bend it back. It's reasonably light.
I like where your head's
You'll
at.
notice a touring pole will have an oversized basket. That's because that skier does want to have that extra flotation, does want to have that extra bit to kind of push off of. You can go with a regular loop strap. It just kind of loops around and just loops to your hand, and away you go. They're down and dirty price, so like between $30 and $40 for a set of poles, and away you go.
That is what I use, and they work great.
Yeah, they do the trick, man.
They work great.
Why do they have cork handles?
So cork handles insulation.
Okay.
Also, it just gives you a better grip. It's a better texture to grab.
Gotcha.
But the cork handle grips, the big thing about going to a cork grip, so the ones I'm talking about at first, the loop straps, oftentimes will just have a plastic grip.
Rubber or plastic.
When you go to a
yeah.
cork grip or anything that's like dual density, you start also getting a harness. A hand harness, which is like a 3-point construction around your hand. It grips your hand kind of like a glove does.
It's a half glove you slip
Yes.
over
Oh
your
yeah.
hand.
Okay.
When you do that, you no longer have to like white knuckle your grips to push down on them. You're now kind of like feathering the grip with your hand
So
and
that's when you
pushing
see
down
them,
with the
like
wrist.
you're not really.
And
it's just
and
kinda
for
there.
skating, it is 100% necessary. However, for classic skiing, you can definitely use them.
Okay.
A higher end skier will definitely use
Okay.
them. Now, as you go up from there, you go into carbons and higher end carbons. But
Yeah.
an aluminum pole does do the trick. Sizing wise, but just under the shoulder is usually where we're sizing people. The classic trick is like, lift your arm up and go under the arm. Just a little higher than under the armpit is kind of where you want to be.
Okay.
There is, however, a height restriction on racing. So there's an actual restriction, kind of like a UCI style restriction,
Okay, so
to
how
keep
long you can have.
exactly to keep skiers from just levering off their poles.
Because they
constantly.
discriminate against people my height. It's very discriminatory.
Yeah, that's because they don't make poles your size.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just to keep guys from just levering off their poles the whole
Yeah.
time and just double pulling. So there is a restriction, so just be wary of that. But just try to keep it in and around the shoulder.
Hilarious.
No, it's true. Like
They
you
must
see,
just clip if you did that.
you
though.
see these guys like the guys that are racers out on the track, and even on flat sections, they'll tell you just double pulling, not even doing a kicking motion or anything.
Yeah,
just double pulling is the fastest
But that's
way
when
to
they have
go.
double pulling zones and
Oh,
they have
yeah.
like the penalty points, and it does get a little dicey in the cross country world that way too. So that's kind of the quick and easy there. So let's talk about skates. So skate skis. Just grab one of them. And SK on them. Yeah, that's one. So
SK stands for skate.
So a skate ski, if we're just looking at the ski, if you're trying to identify it off the wall, other than the SK on the inside of the skate, which Rozzy's so nice to put it on there,
It's flat on the end.
it's flat on the end.
Very
So-
good.
Yeah.
A skate ski will be kind of, the best way to think about it is kind of like a bow. So you've got like a bow underneath your feet, and you're pushing off the bow, and the bow will start to kind of flatten out as you put weight on it. And when you unweight the ski, it'll propel you forward. You kind of move forward in a skating motion, kind of like ice skates.
Your skis are anywhere, like they're not straight out in front of you like two toothpicks. They're kind of 30 to 45 degrees in front of you, depending on your gait and how you're built. And it is a skating motion.
Yeah, skating motion. The skis are significantly shorter than a classic ski. But yeah, similar kind of idea. A ski like this does not have any grip on the bottom. You do not grip wax them. They do not have fish scales. They do not have skins, because you're propelling yourself, as opposed to propelling yourself with some kind of grip on the bottom, you're propelling yourself with the motion that you're doing.
Yeah, they're thicker. They're a bit beefier around the binding because of, again, that pushing lateral motion. You need to have more meat in the ski.
Yeah. Okay. This is not a world I'm going towards, but I do have a couple of questions about it. Like how concave or convex it is. Is that like, does that also impact like your weight? Like the more you weigh, would you want to have it?
So that's, we're going to get to weight in a second
it's
here, but I need
based
to
on
calm
it.
down.
And this is, you think
I just want to know it all now. I don't care about the rest. Tell me what I want to know.
you think this is a world that I'll never get into, and my wife and I, we both started out classic skiing. She's now full on into skate skiing. She
Oh,
loves
yeah?
it. She loves it. There's a
See?
there's a real beauty to the technique of skate skiing, and you will
It
go
is a lot of
faster.
technique.
You will go faster than classic skiing.
Cool.
Significantly
you
faster.
go wicked fast on skate skis.
Yeah, it's the speed that scares me, because you got to go down on these things, and then you go to the corner.
Well,
and there's
here's the
nothing
thing.
there.
So an important thing to note too about skate skis is
Yeah.
you need a skate ski path. So a lot of the clubs in town, and it's important to know this, if you're living out in Cape Real and you really like your local club and you really want to go to your local club and you want to buy skate skis, they don't have a skate ski path.
That is a classic only
You
club.
need to
yes.
have a very wide trail to skate ski. It needs to be wide and it needs to be packed totally flat, so that you have enough room to skate ski.
Yeah, a skate ski path will be like 10 feet wide
Yeah,
of
very,
groomed
very,
you
very
trail.
got to
wide.
be able to like.
It's a double
just-
track.
Yeah, you got to
It's
take
a double
a
track.
while.
So now with the skate ski, the ski that we grabbed here is a Delta Sport from Rozzy. A Delta Sport meaning it's kind of their first skate ski. It's
Oh, okay.
a full wood core ski. It's just a wood core ski that has, Rozzy has all sorts of fun thingamajiggers going into it. We're not going to go too deep into that, but a wood core ski. When we go from here into what the Delta Course is, which is the white skis, grab me that white checkered one. Yeah, grab me that one. That's
one?
fine. Yeah. So it goes Delta Sport, into Delta Comp, and then into Delta Course. A Delta Course is a honeycomb ski. So this is the ski is, and you will see this as well with the classic skis when you go into the higher end. We didn't cover it because it's not as applicable, but on the skate ski side, you'll notice there is no touring version of skate skiing. It's a performance sport. It's a racing sport. This is someone who wants to go put time.
They
in,
wanna
right?
rip.
Yeah.
This is like a
They
road
do.
bike,
Yeah.
right? You're going fast. So this is gonna have this will have this. Rozzy has a unique thing where they all their bases are all World Cup bases, which is awesome. But oftentimes when you spend a little more money, you will get a faster base. You also get the honeycomb construction. The honeycomb construction, it looks like cardboard. It's like corrugated cardboard the entire side of the ski. Now, advantages of the corrugated cardboard, of course, it's lighter.
Yeah.
but it allows them to control the flex of the ski. So they can make it stiffer here, softer here, stiffer here as the ski goes throughout, and they can kind of change how the ski flexes in
interesting.
certain zones,
Yeah.
just using the cardboard.
And is it like legitimately cardboard? in
Well,
there?
I say cardboard. It's
No, it's
corrugated wood,
it's-
but
Okay, okay. I just that's what I mean. Like
yeah, it's
Or
honeycomb.
composite.
but it's like a honeycomb, but it's not
honeycomb
cardboard.
wood.
Okay, cool.
But you think in skate skiing, like it's all about weight transfer.
Yeah,
it's all about that pushing
Like
motion.
you want it to
and
go
weight
up and then
transfer.
hammer it out. Yeah,
Exactly.
it makes sense.
When you go into the Exium line from them, you start getting carbon fiber. So you start getting carbon fiber tips. You start getting like
Okay.
stuff we're talking about, like in very
Flex.
fast rebound, very
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Like so, we go into the higher end boots that way.
Cool.
Or higher end skis that way.
Yeah.
That's the quick and easy with skate skis. I mean, questions about skate skis?
I wish I guess what is the transition that you see? Like most people that are coming in are probably wanting classics. Like, do some people come in and want to start?
We
on
get
skate?
that for sure. We get the like people who go out and maybe they go rent a ski and they see how fast the skate skiers are going. They're
Okay.
like, I want to do that. We also get people that are like maybe they're an ex hockey player and they say, hey, listen, my friends used to skate skis a lot. I want to go with them. The important thing is you can't if you have a friend who skate skis and that's what they do is they're skate skiing and you want to go skiing with them. You also have to skate ski.
Yeah, you ain't keeping up on classics. Let me tell you.
You'd have to be a very good classic skier to keep up with someone on skate skis. But if you're just getting into the sport, like you need to be in the. It's like if you've got a friend that's got a road bike and
You
you're
show up with a
thinking
mountain
about
bike.
you show up with a mountain bike.
Yeah,
You're not having the same.
So
amount of fun.
if I go out on a set of classic skis and I'm really ripping and I'm by no means a world class classic skier, I'll do sub 5 minutes a kilometer.
Okay.
Somebody will go out and skate skis three and a bit minutes a kilometer. Like it's not
lot
even
faster.
close how fast they
faster.
are.
So it's a big difference. It's high pace. It is very technique dependent. You can't really shuffle ski a classic ski. Like if you
People
want to
that
go
can
up,
do it make it look so easy.
They
Like, it's
do.
Like you gotta
Well,
really-
Because
Easy
again, it's all
looking
technique.
thing.
Because if you get that technique, you make it look flawless
Exactly.
and easy. It looks effortless.
but you can't really if you're doing it with like really bad technique. You're not having as much fun as maybe you may be having on classic skis. But on a classic ski, you can go out and you can kind of just shuffle along and like just kind of like have some fun, do your thing.
can putt
like,
around
you
on it.
putt around. You can.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
putting around on
It's-
skate
yeah,
skis is a lot harder to do.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you want to pass me that
Yeah,
boot,
that's the segue. Because of that motion, that's why that boot looks so
Yes.
funky.
So a skate boot. I mean, I grabbed an Exium boot here. It does look
The
nice.
high end.
It's
Show
a
the weave.
higher end for sure. It's so you will notice as well. They don't make a touring version of a skate boot. These boots need to be stiff because you need ankle support when you're pushing that way. They all have an upper cuff, right? Because you need that support. There is no hinge in this boot.
And for those who are not watching the video, the upper cuff is a supporting frame around your
around
heel
your like lower
and
calf
ankle.
almost. Yeah. There is no hinge in this boot, so you cannot flex this boot that way. It is stiff. Oftentimes, they'll have a higher end boot will have carbon through the heel, carbon through the sole, and be even stiffer. They will shave weight off it. They'll take the sole off the bottom. They'll make it to a point where like you have to wear a boot to bring it to the trail. Like all sorts of
Wow.
crazy stuff. Oh yeah, they almost always have a gaiter over the top. At this point, they're assuming when you're getting into skate skiing, they're assuming that you're in it. And a
This is
skate
the
boot-
road biking of the skiing world, right? This
Kind
is
of.
the shaving of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah,
grams
yeah.
and
Well,
the
it's the same thing. Like,
stiffness and the
you're not rolling into the grocery store in your road shoes.
no, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you're not
it's
rolling
exactly-
around like
No, you're
like
not.
it's.
And
I get
it's
it. Yeah, yeah.
and I don't want to deter anyone because it is something that you can get into and be pretty accessible
Oh no,
with.
it's super
but
fun. Like my
yeah.
wife loves it. She would rather go skate skiing than classic right now.
But it is-
Well,
it
then why
is
don't you
definitely-
step it up? Come on, Logan.
If you've ever seen my level of coordination skiing, you'd be like, you stick to classics.
Mommy,
guy.
what is that giraffe doing?
You stick to classics, son. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's as you get nicer, they get lighter, and but it's the same kind of thing. Sometimes less is more. We do sell a lot of a boot called the X8 or the ASK from Alpina, and those are your active kind of like more warm, comfortable, easy skiing boots. They aren't as stiff. However, a boot like this.
So is this like that's like a race day boot?
This is a boost. This is a performance boot. This is like your skier that's racing. This
Yeah.
is like your
Yeah.
like
And-
we have boots
Well,
above this and
it
below
looks
this.
fast. Like
Yeah.
you don't put that boot on and go slow.
one thing to say about all this equipment, and we're very lucky in Sudbury to be in such a cross country heavy area.
Yeah.
you can go out to all these clubs, and the vast majority of them have a great fleet of rental equipment where
Absolutely.
you can try out things for a very reasonable price.
So you could, like,
And
I could rent
wanna-
this.
yeah, you
well,
can-
maybe not.
Not that.
Not
You can't
that.
rent an
Some-
But
XM,
you can buy,
rent-
like you can rent, and I'll lean to Walden because that's where my family has a membership. You can go out to Walden, you can rent a very good set of skate skis, a very good set of skate boots, or a very good set of classic skis and classic boots, and try it out and say, well, is this for me? Is this level of
Exactly.
equipment making me happy? Should I go a little bit lighter and faster? Should I go a little bit warmer and comfier? And you can even ask them, like, do you have something else other than this and this size? Because they have multiple options in each size.
Yeah,
and you
they can start
you
walking
can
you through
check
some
some
stuff.
things out. And the staff at every ski club in Sudbury, we've been to pretty much all of them. They're all fantastic.
I agree with that.
And
Absolutely.
they're so good at helping the people out that come,
Mm-hmm.
that want to try things out and want to explore the sport.
Cool. Ambassadors.
Yeah, they are ambassadors. Absolutely, they are ambassadors.
So that's kind of skate boots.
Cool.
So we're going to poles quick. I mean, poles are kind of the same story. The thing is, you can't really use. So on skate, poles matter a lot more. You're putting a lot of weight on those poles while you're trying to propel yourself forward. Having an aluminum pole definitely doesn't go a long way. You're gonna be bending
You're gonna
it
bend it like real
all the
quick.
time, like immediately. Even if I'm being honest with you, a low price point carbon pole is almost worse than aluminum pole at this point. Like a 20% carbon pole is like a wet noodle. So anything it's like 60% carbon and up is usually kind of what I recommend. A 60% carbon pole will definitely give us the stiffness we need. It'll give us the grip that we need
Sure.
to kind of grab the pole properly. Generally speaking, what I recommend, you also like that whipping motion of the pole. Having a lighter weight pole makes a huge difference too. So this is where on the ski side, we definitely do see people maybe opt to slightly higher end pole.
Cool.
That pole does need to be significantly longer.
It is a longer pole
Yeah,
because of
makes
that
sense.
motion,
Yeah.
because of
Well,
that.
the longer
The
the,
pole
better.
doesn't come all the way back.
The longer
right?
the
Yeah.
better, and the whippier the better. I would think.
Exactly. So just making sure you get your pole size right, just making sure that you get a stiff enough pole, and then that proper full harness grip is definitely key on the skate side. And yeah, that's the poles are pretty straightforward that way.
Cool. Well, I see why a lot of the clothing does really work well with fat biking as well. Like a lot of it transitions really well.
It definitely does.
High cardio activity,
In the
layering.
winter, yeah.
The thing-
I
mean, we can
they
hit
really
on-
lend themselves to each other.
We'll
You
hit,
can see
we'll hit
it.
on clothing quick here. It's everything cross country ski is wind block in the front and breathable in the back. So you're working very hard when you're out there. So having some wind block in the front, but having some kind of breathability in the back does a lot. Where it doesn't work well with fat biking is on the ass of the pants. So because on cross country skiing, the back of the pant is all 4-way stretch and like breathable. You're sitting on a seat on fat
Sure.
biking, so you
Sure.
will get super wet.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah, yeah.
something you need on a fat bike pant, you need waterproofing through the ass of the pant, and a cross country ski pant, you want full breathable material there.
Gotcha.
But any top, it works so well.
It does.
It really
Except for
does.
pockets.
Yeah. Except for pockets. Yeah. They lack pockets in the cross country
That's
world.
why,
They don't
that's why
understand
you buy the
pockets.
sweetest vest in the history of the world. And you don't worry about pockets.
Yeah,
ever
no
again.
lack of pockets. So that's about it for as far as jackets go. But let's kind of hit, a very important topic, arguably the most important topic is ski sizing.
Okay.
So now, let's talk about classic skis first. Now, when we're sizing a classic ski, the classic way that people would say to do it would be off the wrist.
Yes,
Right?
off the wrist.
You stand up, you're off your wrist, and you make sure, it's about the right size ski there.
If
There you
can
go.
Just drape your hand over the top of the ski.
Now, you are the classic example here.
It does not work for me.
It doesn't work.
doesn't
Why
work
is
for me.
that?
I'll
Because you're
take the
fucking
because-
9 feet
because
tall?
I am 6'8" and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, how much do you weigh?
And I weigh 100 kilograms.
Yeah, see, this is the issue. So you can also have, I'm 5'6", I'm 135 pounds, because we use pounds here.
Because you're freedom
'cause
units.
we-
I'm
yes,
about
exactly.
220,
So we,
223 in freedom units.
because I'm 5'6", you can also have a skier that's 180 pounds and 5'6". Those skiers wouldn't ski the same ski, especially on a classic ski where you need to get grip to propel yourself forward. So it is very weight focused. You will
That
notice on the
flex is
bottom
really
of the
important,
skis,
yeah.
there'll be numbers. And on any ski, so if we grab, say this beautiful R skin here, it'll say 132 152 pounds to 165 pounds. This skier will do that range. So it's making sure that you're within the middle of that range. If you go to the higher end of that range or lower end, keeping in mind that the way the ski flexes, right? If you're on the lower end, your ski is going to be a little stiffer. If you're on the higher end of that range, the ski will be a little soft for you, but you can kind of adjust the ski weight maybe to how you're skiing. But it is an important thing to make sure that you get the ski tested right for you. You can take the skis. We have a little press board next to you there, Bernetti, and you lay the ski flat. You have the skier stand on the skis, and you make sure that there is indeed, while both skis are flat side by side, as you can see here in our YouTube video that we have going again. I hope we didn't cut too much video out for you, but you can slide a piece of paper underneath the ski, and you should have kind of a gap between the wood and the ski. Just maybe a paper thin, or maybe 2 papers thin.
So if you're equally distributed your weight on both skis, you're gliding. That's the point. Is you're
that wax
shouldn't touch
pocket
the
is
ground.
not talking the is not touching the ground, especially on a waxable ski.
For one length of ski, let's say you're buying, what are these for length?
These guys here are 198.
So 198, you can get multiple flexes in that length.
Sure.
So for a heavier skier, you can get a 198 ski that'll be built for a heavier skier, or a 198 that's built for a lighter skier. But you have to get those numbers to match.
So not a nightmare for a shop owner at all.
No, it's not a nightmare at all, man.
Yeah.
So what we do, honestly, we weight check most skis. Anything that's coming in for performance ski, we generally speaking, we're weight testing them. That's very, very important on the classic skis. On the touring skis, we end up with a slightly different situation. So the touring ski will have a larger wax pocket. You'll also notice on the touring skis that they're shorter per size. So because this ski is wider underfoot, the ski will also be a little stiffer, as you can imagine, more material. Because it's wider and stiffer, the skis shorter. So if you end up with that skier that maybe the weight to height ratio doesn't necessarily line up, if you have that 5'6" skier that isn't built like a European, maybe they're more 160 pounds, 170 pounds, them going into a 200 centimeter ski is kind of crazy. It's a lot of ski to be moving around, even just taking it out of the car and trying to organize it. That skier can then ski 190 centimeter ski, so that ski is a little more manageable and easier to ski for that skier to ski. As I had mentioned, like
Say ski one more time.
ski one more time. A touring ski is definitely family friendly, right? It
Yeah, that
is
makes sense.
very easy to ski, very fun.
Okay, but now when you do that same test, do you do like the same?
So with
put
a
them on
ski
the
like
board?
this, you can definitely. It's a fish scale ski, so it'll have a very long wax pocket regardless. So you're definitely going to get grip as long as you're within the range. The ranges in these guys are a little bit bigger. You could definitely do the test on to make sure you get a little bit
But
of
will
grip.
they have a tag on it, like a weight tag?
They
or-
will, yes. They'll have a weight tag on it, and if the weight tags aren't on the skis, then they'll have it'll all be available on whatever company, whatever
On their
Rosie's gear,
website.
doesn't matter, on their website.
Yeah.
They'll list all the weights and all the charts.
And I remember buying my first set of skis kind of blind. I bought them on sale, knew nothing about skis. And when I went to get the bindings put on, the guy that put the bindings on was like, "Ooh, I hope you bought the right flex in the skis." And I, did the test, stand on the board, and he was like, "Ooh, you got lucky."
Yeah, lucky.
You didn't do that at
I
all
know.
before. Like you just went in blind.
Just went in blind and bought them. And
That's dude. There's a reason they're probably on sale. 'Cause who else is buying your size of ski?
that's essentially
Yeah. Well, what you got left?
So with
just
that,
Sasquatch size. That's all we have.
Mostly for monsters.
it is also important to note that there is flexes of skis, and we'll see this mostly with higher end skis. So Peltonen is a good brand for this for us, and if with all going according to plan, we might actually have the Peltonen rep on at some point. They do a lot of medium, stiff, and extra stiff skis. So you can buy a 198 medium, a 198 stiff, or a 198 extra stiff for different skiers for different sizes. There are also like some skiers prefer different skis, sometimes different temperatures prefer a different ski as well. But if you're maybe a skier that's super tall and very light, you might want a softer ski in that length, or the opposite for a shorter, heavier skier.
So do you have to stock a ton of different skis then?
A ton, man. Literally
You
a
do,
ton.
eh?
And what we're starting to do, though, is we're 5 years now, 5.5. We're going on 6. So we're starting to figure some stuff out. We're starting to figure out the skis that make the most sense and skis that don't. touring skis make a lot of sense because they're an easier way to kind of get those people into the sport, give those people a little more confidence. On the higher end, what we're starting to do is we're starting to focus in on the brands like Peloton and that are doing those extra stiff skis. And what's going to happen moving forward is we're going to do a lot of extra stiff skis, and them mostly as a problem solver ski.
Okay.
We're starting to find those skis that, like, if you're out looking around and you can't find that ski in that right stiffness for you and that right size,
Sure.
we're going to try to stock them from a brand that has the specific needs of that ski.
Gotcha. So they're like more of a niche.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're starting to find those skis. But we're also starting to figure out, some people want a skin ski here or a wax ski there, or it's that's where it gets a little funny is the range between them. I guess lastly, let's talk about skate skis. So skate skis, same thing. It's on weight. You can imagine if it's a bow and you're pressing against the bow to make yourself move forward, you need to have the right weight for your ski to move it forward.
And probably and for it to be landing in the right spot too, right?
Exactly.
Like not too close, not too far out. Like you really, I would imagine.
It's like you were listening the whole time.
It's almost like we
picked
were
up
there.
so much.
I've grown. I've really grown tonight, I feel like a whole new man. I really need to thank you guys. You really rounded me out as a human being.
A skate ski, it's very important. The important thing about it, the only difference, I guess, to say is that it doesn't necessarily have to do with your grip because there's no grip. It does have to do with like a strong skate skier can flex the ski a little more, but still being within that weight definitely matters quite a bit.
Dude, skate skis on the inside front and back edge, is there like a different grip section or a different edge or something like that so that you would grab on it, or are you supposed to not grab? Like I feel like you'd kind of want to
No. It's not like a metal edge or anything. Okay. It's it's
more of a slide.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
And going back to what the ski clubs provide, my wife is in lessons, adult lessons, masters lessons, they call them, every week.
That's awesome.
It is fantastic. It's
awesome
wonderful.
that they do that.
Yeah, why not?
And you get out there and you get these guys that were raised in Sudbury on the ski teams when they were young, and they tell you it's literally all about that weight transfer. That is the key to skate skiing. It's 100% that weight transfer.
Cool.
So last quick thing I want to hit on, guys, is quick is bindings. Bindings is the big kind of like overarching boogeyman in this world. So an important thing to know, there used to be, to give you the quick long and short of it, Bernetti, because you haven't been exposed to any of it, there was an S&S and an N&N binding.
Okay.
So two different brands, both 3-letter acronyms. S&S was...
that's dirty.
Oh, yeah, we're getting there. So S&S was Solomon. So anything Solomon and Atomic is the same company as Solomon,
Okay.
was under that brand. And a couple other brands licensed that. Fisher licensed that at one point, and a couple other brands.
Okay.
Now, the other brand was N&N, okay? And N&N is a Rockefeller brand. And that was, they had the patent on this brand, and it was a very good binding system. Fisher used that at one point. Matsus uses that. Rossi uses that. A lot of other brands use Spine, this new brand we're carrying, all use an N&N system binding. Now, this is going back and forth for years and years. The best way to think about it is underneath the bottom of a boot. If you look at this boot from Spine, there's 2 lines under the bottom, 2 kind of grooves in the bottom of a boot.
Okay.
An S&S boot would have 1 big groove in the middle.
Okay.
You've also seen S&S pilot boots. When people say they've got 2 pins on the bottom, it's a pilot boot. That's an S&S boot, not an N&N boot. The long and short of it, S&S went away. Solomon changed their binding a lot over the last couple of years. What ended up happening was the patent expired on N&N. When the patent expired on N&N, Solomon ditched their entire system cold turkey and said, well, you know what, we're making an N&N equivalent. When they did that, it was an aggressive move and a very unfortunate move, though, because that left a lot of customers very stranded. Because you could have bought a set of boots from Solomon one year, that next year they were extinct.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not really good. It's, for being honest with you, a reason we don't carry Solomon in the store, and I'll never carry Solomon products, because they left a lot of customers in a bad spot. But regardless, N&N is now effectively a standard. You will no longer see an N&N patent on boots, because some boots, yes, like Alpina still uses the N&N specific sole.
Okay.
But you'll see N&N written Rockefeller in the bottom. But a lot of
technology.
Oh yeah, but a lot of other boots, they make their own. Like Rossi's got the Turnamic, and all other brands have the others, which are N&N equivalents.
Right.
A lot of the boots now, they're all interchangeable.
Gotcha.
There's maybe benefits to using a Rossi boot on a Rossi binding, but a Solomon boot will work on a Rossi binding as well.
Makes sense.
So the danger with this, though, is, in Sudbury, again, going back to the ski clubs, a couple of the ski clubs have ski swaps at the start of the year.
This
You
is the
go
issue.
and you buy some used equipment, and it's a little
Right,
bit of a
right.
feeding frenzy. You show up, it's crazy. People are grabbing
Yeah.
stuff left, right, and center because you can get some great deals. And then John has the problem. People come into the store the next day with a sweet set of boots they got for a great price, straight from your attic, used only 3 times in 20 years. And they say, I need a boot that fits this. And John says,
That doesn't exist.
nothing fits that. That binding is extinct.
And it's unfortunate. So it's an important thing to know. If you see an SNS, that's the thing you want to stay away from. If you have SNS on the ski, you can get an N&M binding put on that ski. Just remove the old binding, put a new one on. A cool thing, though, that I do want to note about the changes in this system is now that we have, as I hit the ceiling one more
That's the
time.
third time we've hit the ceiling, I
Jesus.
believe.
I know.
Yeah.
So if you can see this on video, we still have video. Everything's gone to a track. So because everything's gone to a track now, from most reputable brands, I should say, because it's gone to a track, we don't have to screw skis. We don't have to drill bindings,
sense.
right?
Yeah,
Which
like
is
my skis
unbelievable.
have a drilled binding on them. Like you screw them into the ski.
So now we just talked about how every ski has like this honeycomb throughout of it and all these kind of like crazy carbons and all that stuff. Drilling holes and putting wood screws in them. That's not great. It affects the flex of the ski and changes the flex of the ski underfoot. Going to a track
Logan,
binding,
you need some new skis, buddy.
It's
Bottom
about
line.
time. It's about time.
You're due.
Yeah.
having a track binding makes it so that it doesn't damage your binding doesn't damage the ski. Also, if you hit your binding with your pole and crack your binding, you can change the binding without without
So what
undrilling the
is
ski.
what is changing this bind? Like what's keeping it on there? Is it like glued on?
It's built in.
It's a
Yeah, glued.
spring-loaded mechanism that clips into that track.
Well, exactly. The binding slides over top of these, but
No,
this
but
is
I'm saying
glued
this,
and
yeah.
built into these.
So
Yeah.
if you break this mounting, is the
Warranty.
ski warranty?
Yeah,
But
it's
you
an-
don't like I've had maybe one of these.
Oh, okay,
break
so it's not like a super
No,
common-
it
no, the
doesn't
binding
happen.
the binding will break first before the track breaks.
before the track breaks. The track's
Okay.
not really breaking. If they do, you just warranty them.
Yeah.
It's a good system. It also allows for some adjustability. So
Sure.
on a ski like this, if you can imagine, not that we're going too long here, but if you look at the skin, so
I was just
the
looking
skin
at this on the
ski-
Peltonen skis because the Peltonen
know.
skis actually listed on them
I know.
because
So
it says
So the skin on the bottom of the ski
Yeah.
isn't as long, and the midpoint, which is where the middle of your binding, your foot kind of presses into the ski,
Okay.
presses over the back half of the skin.
Okay.
Now, if I move my binding forward, I will get more grip.
Oh, okay.
And if I move my binding back, I will get more glide. So the disadvantages to having a skin ski or having any waxless ski was always that you didn't have the ability to adjust for conditions.
Gotcha.
Now that you have a track system, you do have the ability
yeah,
to
this
adjust
one
for
actually
conditions.
says grip with an arrow and
and
glide
and
with an
how
arrow.
long does it take to
Yeah.
adjust that?
10 seconds.
Yeah.
With the
It's a
right
clip.
binding.
You literally have a
Yeah, it's a
tool. You
clip.
push up on the
Not
clip. and
even
you can,
so these ones don't even have a clip anymore. They have a move system. You can do it on the fly with your boot still in it. These guys here, it's just a button you push down.
yeah, it's pretty
So
slick.
it's pretty awesome, honestly. It's an amazing system. This is Rossi Turnamic or the Rodefeller Move system. They're bindings that you can move on the fly, which basically I don't want to say eliminates the need for wax, but it's getting there. So I'd say
Sounds pretty good to me.
it's a pretty good system.
Low
So
maintenance.
That's the quick and easy. Yeah, that's the quick and easy. They do have a moving system on the skate bindings. It does still allow for some adjustment, but it's less applicable. But that's kind of the quick and easy for bindings as fast as I can make it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Be careful of what you buy used.
That's
Try to
the
stick
problem.
to N&N
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's the industry standard. And if there are still some deals out there. If you can get an SNS binding you can get some great things that are used. Make sure that you buy all of the equipment that matches
yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is like eBay like there's SNS stuff like for
Oh, yeah.
super.
You go
Well-
to the Walden Ski Swap. There's SNS stuff every year.
Oh,
for
If you
sure.
have
For sure.
SNS ski stuff, you should start selling that stuff because people want it. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
People really
absolutely,
want it.
they do because they have a set of boots that they don't have a set of skis for, or vice versa,
Exactly.
and they're
Right,
looking
right.
to
They're
complete
looking
that
for-
seat. Yeah, 100%.
So, I guess that's it, guys. So that's it for the first episode of the ski our XC ski series.
Yeah.
Next episode, we're gonna try to bring on some experts. We've got some guys.
I'll be back.
So John will be back too.
We've got some ski reps actually that maybe can come on and talk about their products and kind of give us a little more insight. Hoping to bring them on. So if you guys have questions, please reach out. Last thing before we go, we did have our race series, series number 2 last week, which was pretty absolute killer.
It was awesome.
It was
Yeah,
a good time,
it was
guys.
awesome.
Thanks everyone coming out. We had over 25 people show up, so amazing turnout. We couldn't have hoped for any better. It was pretty awesome, honestly.
Yeah.
We had Mr. Davies again, absolutely crushing. He dethroned Mr. Kelly Thompson. An unbelievable go.
Kelly ended up third, I think, which is just
that?
disappointing for Kelly to end up third.
Dude, like he did. Like I was riding with him for a bit. He is a monster. I can't even.
Yeah.
He tried to bridge that gap, but they were so far up front. And then our own Mr. Todd Thompson.
Big shout out to Coach Todd.
And
in second
getting
place.
second.
Well done, Todd.
Oh
Wild.
my god!
Well done.
When I looked down at my screen and I was like, what is Todd? I hadn't seen him for a minute. I thought he was so far back. I was like, I hope he didn't fall out of the race. Like,
Todd
and then I
smashed
look
it.
and he's like, he's a minute ahead of me. A minute
Yeah.
ahead of me? How did Todd get a minute ahead of
it's
me?
wild.
Demolished us, man.
Yeah.
Totally slaughtered.
Todd's been putting
well
in the
done.
hours, and it showed. Yeah.
He absolutely crushed. So props to Todd for the race. And,
These two guys sitting beside me did awesome. Mr. Brunetti putting in some fantastic power for the hour again, like a diesel.
like full
and-
diesel.
I'm using it as a tool. I really am. I'm really trying to focus on cadence and keeping it at 90 and just changing
trucking
my
along,
I'm just
yeah.
I'm
So
trying to
here's an
change my
interesting
cycling.
thing:
Yeah.
is I looked at the average cadence for our winner and Todd, and they were below 90.
No
We're
way.
talking like 85 cadence because my average was 95.
Yeah.
And I'm spinning above 100.
Yeah.
And I looked at their average cadence and said, maybe I'm going to try the opposite. I'm going to try
Yeah.
to slow it down a bit and see what happens.
85 is a good cadence, though.
Yeah.
That's a good solid cadence.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to push myself outside of my
Yeah, of
norm and
course.
just train a little bit differently. And the races are great for that. Like it's a fun tool.
Absolutely.
So-
And John putting out some big numbers,
Yeah,
putting
I
out
did
some
really well.
800 and something
my
watt
darndest.
sprints, 900 watt sprints. And
Yeah, we're doing our darndest. So yeah, I guess that's it, guys. I guess that's it from everyone over here. And make sure you guys are following us. If you're following us on YouTube, you may have noticed we did have one little video cut there. Hopefully, you still got the video. And if you don't, then we'll fix it next time.
Yeah. And
But,
you know what? And pay attention. Watch my journey. I may become a cross country skier. Maybe these
say.
Peloton guys have a vision for me. you know?
Exactly.
They need to-
Olympics are only in a couple
Yeah,
years.
exactly. You know,
Got some
I
time.
could be the Rocky Balboa of cross country skiing.
the Rudy of cross country.
There you go.
But yeah, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure apparently there's a notification button on YouTube. Hit that one too. We're still trying to get YouTube to recognize us. People are typing in sessions and it's not coming up. So we got to get there. You guys got to like this stuff and you guys got to subscribe to this stuff, and we will get there. But yeah, I guess that's it, guys. Everyone out here.
Absolutely.
And have fun out there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.